Welcome to Global World. Watch, please subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Puces 3s. Iran has drawn a bold new line in the shifting sands of Middle Eastern diplomacy, signaling a significant escalation in its foreign policy stance. The message is unmistakable. There will be no talks with the United States as long as Washington continues to openly support Israel, both politically and militarily. This isn't just rhetoric, it's a direct ultimatum, one that places America's unwavering alliance with Israel at the very heart of its already tense relationship with Iran. Tehran's message is clear and uncompromising. Unless the US reconsiders its stance on Israel, there will be no diplomatic path forward, no negotiations, and no easing of tensions. By explicitly tying its foreign policy to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Iran is forcing Washington and its allies to confront a dilemma they have long tried to sidestep, choosing between supporting Israel and engaging with Iran. The timing of this move is no accident. Regional tensions are already at a boiling point, with violence and instability threatening to spill over into wider conflict. Iran's bold stance directly challenges the US strategy of balancing nuclear negotiations with continued support for Israel, effectively demanding that Washington make a difficult and potentially game-changing choice. For Europe and other international intermediaries, this new linkage makes already complex diplomacy even more challenging, raising the stakes for all involved. Iran's high-stakes gamble could either deepen its isolation on the world stage or force a dramatic and unexpected shift in the balance of power across the Middle East. To truly grasp Iran's current position on the world stage, we must revisit the long and tangled history of mistrust that has shaped its relationship with the United States. Before 1979, Iran and the US were close allies. However, American support for the Shah's authoritarian rule, and especially the CIA-backed 1953 coup that overthrew Iran's democratically elected prime minister, sowed deep resentment among many Iranians, fueling a sense of betrayal that would simmer for decades. The 1979 Islamic Revolution was a turning point, transforming Iran into a theocracy under Ayatollah Khomeini. The new regime branded the US as the Great Satan, blaming it for decades of interference and exploitation. The infamous 1979 hostage crisis, when Iranian students stormed the US embassy and held Americans captive for 444 days, severed diplomatic ties and set the stage for decades of open hostility and suspicion. After the revolution, Iran's new leaders made opposition to Israel a central pillar of their foreign policy, viewing Israel as an extension of US imperialism in the Middle East and a threat to regional independence. US support for Israel, both military and diplomatic, became further proof in Tehran's eyes of American hostility and meddling in the region, deepening the divide. Every conflict and crisis since then, whether in Lebanon, Iraq, or elsewhere, has been filtered through this lens of suspicion, grievance, and mutual distrust, making reconciliation ever more difficult. Iran's latest ultimatum to the US is deeply rooted in this long history of perceived injustice, foreign intervention, and unresolved wounds that continue to shape both nations' actions today. Iran's focus on US support for Israel is strategic, not just ideological. Israel, backed by US military might, is Iran's main regional rival and threat. US guarantees to Israel mean any conflict could escalate quickly. Iran's anti-Israel stance is central to its revolutionary identity and regional influence. By challenging US support, Iran seeks to lead the axis of resistance and justify its policies at home. This narrative boosts Iran's regional standing and deflects blame for domestic woes. Ultimately, Iran's demand aims to weaken the US-Israel alliance and reshape the region's balance of power. Iran's ultimatum has frozen nuclear diplomacy. The JCPOA, already on life support, now faces collapse, as Iran insists the US-Israel alliance is the real issue. This breaks the long-standing approach of separating nuclear talks from other disputes. The risk: Iran's nuclear program advances unchecked, raising fears of proliferation and possible military action. The diplomatic deadlock sets a dangerous precedent. using nuclear leverage for broader geopolitical aims. If Iran succeeds, others may follow, threatening global non-proliferation efforts. The stakes are higher than ever for regional and global security. Iran's stance is shaking the region. Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, wary of Iran, now fear US engagement could undermine their security. This accelerates regional realignment. Arab states hedge with diplomacy and deepen ties with Israel. The shared threat from Iran is forging new alliances, as seen in the Abraham Accords. Regional players like Turkey and Qatar are recalibrating, while Russia and China see opportunities to expand influence. Iran's allies, like Hezbollah and the Houthis, feel emboldened, risking more proxy conflict. The result, a more polarized, unpredictable Middle East. Iran's ultimatum redraws the map of conflict and cooperation. For Israel, Iran's ultimatum is both a direct threat and, paradoxically, a validation of its long-standing concerns. The announcement has sent shockwaves through the Israeli government, reinforcing the belief that Iran's nuclear ambitions are not just about regional power, but are fundamentally tied to its hostility toward Israel's very existence. It confirms Israeli fears that Iran's nuclear program is a central pillar of its strategy against Israel, making the threat feel more immediate and personal to many Israelis. Hardliners in Jerusalem feel vindicated by these developments, using the moment to push for tougher US support and advocating for more aggressive measures, both diplomatically and militarily. In response, Israel will likely seek greater security guarantees and advanced weaponry from Washington, hoping to bolster its deterrence and maintain its qualitative military edge in the region. But with diplomacy stalled and tensions rising, the risk of military confrontation grows, casting a shadow over the region and raising fears of a wider conflict. To avoid an all-out war, Israel may intensify covert operations and cyber efforts to slow Iran's nuclear progress, buying time while preparing for all possible scenarios. At the same time, Israel will deepen its ties with Arab states, forging new security partnerships and intelligence sharing to counter the Iranian threat more effectively. Ironically, Iran's aggressive move may end up uniting Israel and its new regional partners even further, strengthening a coalition determined to contain Tehran's ambitions and preserve regional stability. The US-Iran standoff has global consequences. For millions in the Middle East, it means more instability and hardship. Sanctions will hit ordinary Iranians hardest, fueling discontent and isolation. The risk of conflict threatens global energy supplies, with oil prices and trade routes at stake. The diplomatic impasse weakens international institutions and sets a dangerous precedent. The world edges closer to a wider war, with global powers drawn in. The cost isn't just economic, it's measured in lives and lost hope. The stakes nothing less than the future of regional and global security.